The first speech of Satan, and I had explained that in my previous class. Now let us read from line number 125. So spake the apostate angel, though in pain, vaunting aloud, but racked with deep despair. And him thus answered soon his bold compeer. Now here apostate means faithless, because Satan was not faithful to God, and he was in extreme pain, as you can see or understand, because of the pain that he was experiencing from the uh, thunderbolt that God had struck against him. So he was vaunting aloud, meaning he was speaking loudly, declaring his plans loudly, but racked with deep despair. Despair here, obviously, it means that he was feeling a bit desperate and melancholic, since he knew that he had been defeated, because he had expected that he would be able to win against God, but that was not to be. So he was inwardly racked with, troubled with deep despair. And him thus answered soon his bold compeer. Compeer here would mean Beelzebub, his companion, his companion in these words. O Prince, O Chief of many throned powers, that led the embattled seraphim to war under thy conduct. So here Beelzebub begins his speech, and he is addressing Satan as the prince of the fallen angels, and as the chief of many throned powers. So throned powers, this word throned suggests the hierarchy of angels called thrones. So obviously it might mean the exalted and powerful fallen angels who were being led by Satan, that led the embattled seraphim to war. So Satan had led the fallen angels to war. Now this word seraphim, singular is seraph, S-E-R-A-P-H, and the plural is seraphim. Now here this word actually refers to the first order of the fallen angels. So these seraphims had been in heaven the highest ranked angels, and they were the angels of love. So they were ranked the highest, and Satan had convinced them to side with him, and he had led them to war under thy conduct. So under thy conduct here obviously means under his leadership, under your military command. And in dreadful deeds fearless. So they were fearless angels who had warred, or who had fought against God. They were involved in dreadful deeds. So dreadful deeds, obviously it means that they were courageous enough to wage a dreadful war against God. Fearless, endangered heaven's perpetual king. So heaven's perpetual king, as you know, Satan does not pronounce the word God. He is always referring to God in a roundabout way. In a different way, he is using different words to refer to God. Here he uses this phrase, heaven's perpetual king. So who is reigning in heaven? It is God. So perpetual means eternal. So God is reigning in heaven, and obviously God is immortal, he is eternal, and he is reigning there. So he is called heaven's perpetual king. But endangered, look at this word, endangered. Endangered here means that the fallen angels who had gone to war against God under the leadership of Satan, they had endangered, or God had felt afraid of their power. So God's position as the supreme power in heaven was compromised, or it was in danger. So God was in danger of being toppled or overpowered. So obviously Beelzebub is also boasting like his leader and put to proof his high supremacy. Put to proof meaning uh, it tested the fallen angels under the leadership of Satan. They tested the power of God. So God's supremacy was rattled. It was in question. Whether upheld by strength or chance or fate, too well I see and rue the dire event. Here you can see that uh, Beelzebub is saying that too well I see and rue the dire event. So whether upheld by strength or chance or fate, strength or chance or fate.
हाँ
Excuse me, Abdul Khalek Mullah, please mute yourself. Okay, so as Beelzebub says here, whether upheld by strength, whether God was more powerful, he had more power, or chance. By chance, he managed to overpower the fallen angels, or it was destiny, it was fate, which led to the defeat of the fallen angels. So Beelzebub is trying to think of the reason, the cause of God's victory. And although he explains and justifies God's supremacy, uh, the one quality on which God's power rests never, it does not come to him, the fact that God is good, his goodness. Obviously, Beelzebub misses this quality. So here, as you can see, too well I see and rue the dire event. Rue means to lament. So he is lamenting over the fact that they have been defeated. The dire event is the outcome of the fight between God and the fallen angels. That with sad overthrow and foul defeat hath lost us heaven. So they were overpowered, they were overthrown, and they were banished from heaven. And it was a foul defeat, a very a kind of an evil defeat that they suffered at the hands of God, had lost us heaven. So they were once uh, inhabitants of heaven, but now they have been banished from heaven to hell because of this rebellion. And all this mighty host in a horrible destruction laid thus low. So Beelzebub is looking at the numerous fallen angels who were lying prostrate on the burning lake of hell. So it is only Satan and Beelzebub himself, they have regained consciousness, and they are looking at their companions who had fought with them, and they are lying there unconscious, still unconscious. So it's a horrible scene, a scene of horrible destruction. And therefore Beelzebub is really very sad, when he looks at the destruction, as far as gods and heavenly essences can perish. So he's saying that as far as gods and heavenly essences, meaning the fallen angels were actually, they are made of heavenly stuff, substance, so they cannot die, they are immortal. And obviously they would not become extinct. So they would not be demolished or decimated, but they are remaining in this condition. For the mind and spirit remains invincible, and vigor soon returns. So he is echoing Satan's speech. He is saying that the mind and spirit remains unchanged for us, invincible, that cannot be conquered. So our minds would not bow down before God, and our spirit of rebellion, that is of course going to survive, and vigor soon returns, our bodily strength. Now that we have been drained of strength after our defeat, our bodily strength will soon return, though all our glory extinct. So their glories as angels in heaven, that is extinct, meaning that has been put out as a flame. So obviously that is uh, gone, the glorious outward appearance of the angels. And happy state here swallowed up in endless misery. Happy state meaning when they were residents of heaven. So they were happy in heaven as angels living in heaven. But now that they have been banished, thrown into hell, into the darkness of hell by God, obviously their happy state is no longer there. They are swallowed up in endless misery. So misery and suffering, these are going to trouble them from now on. But what if he, our conqueror, whom I now of force believe almighty, since no less than such could have overpowered such force as ours. Now, just look at Beelzebub's contention, or the way he analyzes the situation. He's saying that, but what if he, our conqueror? Now, these spellings, as you can see, the modern spelling is different. Conqueror is spelled differently here, but these were the spellings during Milton's time. So these spellings are the medieval, or the time when Milton used to write, had written these, or rather he had dictated. Of course, he was blind, he could not write. Now, whom I now of force believe almighty. So Beelzebub is saying that I believe that God is almighty, the conqueror is almighty. Because why? Since no less than such could have overpowered such force as ours. So we are a mighty force to contend with. So if the Almighty, if God has succeeded in overpowering us, then obviously, it proves that He is Almighty. He has a kind of omnipotent. He has an omnipotent force. Have left us this our spirit and strength entire, strongly to suffer and support our pains. So our spirit and strength, we are suffering here. And as he says, uh, we are left with our spirits and strength, that is there. Our entire strength is there, strongly to suffer and support our pains. So we have been thrown into hell to suffer and to support each other in our pains, that we may so suffice his vengeful ire. Suffice here means satisfy. So God was angry with us, and he was revengeful. Vengeful means revengeful, and ire means anger. In his revengeful anger, in order to satisfy his anger, he threw us into this uh, hell, or do him mightier service as his thralls by right of war. So he's saying that we will not do him any service as his thralls, meaning servants or slaves, people who have been, you know, uh, forced to work for someone by right of war, whate'er his business be. So whatever he wants to achieve by throwing us into this hell, here in the heart of hell to work in fire, or do his errands in the gloomy deep. So in this heart of hell, the darkness of hell, we will work with fire, and we will not be doing his errands. We will not obey him anymore. So obviously, Beelzebub is echoing his leader, Satan, and he says that now that we are here in hell, we are going to work uh, according to our wishes. What can it then avail through yet, though yet we feel strength undiminished or eternal being to undergo eternal punishment? So he's saying that their undiminished strength, their strength will return. And since they are immortal, they are eternal beings, it will only enable them to undergo eternal punishment. So obviously, they are not going to die. They are going to survive in this situation for all time to come. And therefore, as they are eternal beings and they cannot die, they are going to be punished for as long as uh, creation exists. Where to? Now, here, this speech of Beelzebub, it ends with a question mark. So he is in doubt. You can see that Beelzebub is a bit doubtful. He's talking a bit differently than Satan, and he doesn't know whether what to make of this situation now that they have been thrown into hell. So Satan was trying to inspire or rouse his deputy Beelzebub, but here Beelzebub raises some questions. Whereto, with speedy words, the archfiend replied. Archfiend, of course, is Satan. So here, the first speech of Beelzebub ends at line number 155, and from line number 157, Satan's second speech begins. We have had his first speech and now his second speech. He is replying to Beelzebub's questions. Fallen cherub, to be weak is miserable, doing or suffering. So he says, he addresses uh, Beelzebub as a fallen cherub. So the cherub is another, you know, rank of angels. The seraphims were the highest ranks, highest ranked angels, and then comes the cherubs. So to be weak is miserable, doing or suffering. If you are weak, you are going to suffer. You cannot do anything. You cannot achieve anything. It is going to be you are going to be in a miserable and sorry state. But of this be sure, to do aught good never will be our task. So Satan is making this clear to Beelzebub that you should be certain about one thing, and that is we are not going to do any good. Our task will be to do evil things. To do aught good, anything good, never will be our task, but ever to do ill, our sole delight. So we will delight in doing evil things. So obviously, here Satan is sort of rebuking Beelzebub, because Beelzebub is not very convinced, and he says that anyone who is weak, they are miserable, and whether they do or suffer, whether they act or suffer. So obviously, but anyone who is strong would have the satisfaction of knowing that they are strong, whether they are suffering or whether they are doing anything. So, sorry, they must devote themselves to doing evil things in producing evil, even though God will try to do good, as being the contrary to his high will, whom we resist. So, his high will means God's high will. God is always trying to do good things. And in contrast to that, Satan is saying that the fallen angels, they would have to resist him and do evil things. If then his providence, out of our evil, seek to bring forth good, our labor must be to pervert that end. So, if out of that evil deeds, those evil deeds that we will be performing, God tries to do something, bring out something good, then we will again try to convert that good into evil. So, obviously, he is very adamant and he is dead set against God, God's actions. So, obviously, he is saying that our goal is to do evil things. We have to pervert that end. So, pervert meaning obviously to transform that good into evil. Now, this word cherub, it is the singular form of cherubim, Cherubim. And the cherubims were the second order of the angels who excelled in knowledge. So the seraphims were the first order of angels, who were the angels of love, as I had mentioned. They were ranked number one in heaven, and number two is cherub. So Beelzebub belongs to this category. He belonged to this category. Now, of course, he is a fallen angel and he has lost his rank. So, and out of good still to find means of evil, which oft times may succeed, so as perhaps shall grieve him. So, sometimes we might succeed in perverting or transforming God's good deeds into evil deeds. And that would grieve him, that would really make him sad. So, Satan is sort of reproaching Beelzebub as he reveals his evil designs quite logically. So, Satan justifies that their being weaker than God is itself much cause for their wretchedness, for their suffering. So, even if they act, they must work for evil causes and malign intentions, malignant intentions. Even God wishes good things. So Satan's plan, future plan, it comes to light. We can understand what he will be doing in the future. So in book 9 of Paradise Lost, we will see, if you read book 9 of Paradise Lost, how the temptation of Eve is taking place. Satan, in the guise of a serpent, will tempt Eve. So it is his plan to subvert or pervert all God's good deeds. So obviously, that is his purpose. If I fail not and disturb his inmost counsels from their destined aim. So he says, if I fail not, if I am not mistaken. So here it means if I am not mistaken and disturb his inmost counsels. So if I am able to disturb or, uh, you know, make his plans go sort of awry. So his plans will be, will not come to pass. So God's plan will be disturbed. Their destined aim, that is, doing good. But see, the angry victor hath recalled his ministers of vengeance and pursuit back to the gates of heaven. Now Satan looks up and sees that the angels who were fighting for God against them, the ministers of vengeance and pursuit. Now here, uh, these ministers of vengeance and pursuit are the angels of God, the followers of God, who were fighting for God against Satan and his companions. So they have been recalled to the gates of heaven now that God has hurled Satan and his followers into hell. So the ministers of vengeance, revenge, and pursuit, they were pursuing Satan and his companions. The sulphurous hail shot after us in storm, overblown at late the fiery surge. So he now looks at the or describes the sulphurous, uh, hail shot after us. So here there is this description of this, the kind of hail storm, which was the hailstorm of sulfur, made of sulfur, hot sulfur, that God had shot after them in a kind of a storm. It had blown them into this fiery lake that from the precipice of heaven received us falling. So, from the edge of heaven, precipice means the edge of heaven. So, obviously, God had hurled against them this. Now, this word laid the fiery surge, uh, laid the fiery surge. It means caused to lie down. So, owing to the storm of hell which was blowing, the fiery waves of the burning lake have subsided. So, the fire that was burning in the fiery lake of hell, it has subsided. So, the fiery surge here, this particular phrase, it means that during the storm that was raging, the fiery waves of the burning lake had risen as if to receive the fallen angels when they were being hurled into hell. So he says that from the precipice of heaven received us falling. So they were received by the rising waves of the fiery lake, and the thunder, winged with red lightning and impetuous rage. So the thunder was, of course, the thunderbolt wielded by God with red lightning and impetuous rage. So uncontrolled rage of God perhaps hath spent his shafts, and ceases now to bellow through the vast and boundless deep. So the shafts, actually it means the arrows of God that were hurled against the fallen angels. So he's saying that now God has ceased to persecute them, now that he sees that they are lying in hell. So it has ceased to bellow through, that is, echo through the vast and boundless hell, boundless deep, the ocean, the sea of the burning lake that is there. So here actually Satan is talking about the surrounding areas. Let us not sleep the occasion, and whether sleep the occasion, whether scorn or satiate fury yielded from our foe. So he's saying that we should use this opportunity now that God has recalled his angels, and the situation is much more. It's calmer compared to what it had been. Whether it is that God is scorning to pursue us anymore, or satiate fury, that is satisfied with his the result of his fury, of his anger. So he has finished sort of uh, tormenting us. So seest thou yon dreary plain, forlorn and wild. So he is pointing to a plain, place which is there beside the burning lake, and that is forlorn and wild. Forlorn means it's no one is there, and it has a wild look. The seat of desolation, void of light. So it is a seat of desolation. uh, there is of course no light there, and the abode of loneliness. The seat of desolation means the abode of loneliness. So obviously, the flames of hell, as Milton had described earlier, it does not give out any light. So the kind of horror, the horrible scene of hell is enhanced by the fact that the flames were not in color. They were not colorful flames like ordinary flames, but livid, that is blue black. So the blueness of the flame was due to the prevalence of the sulfur that was there. So Satan is pointing to this plane, the seat of desolation void of light, save what the glimmering of these livid flames cast pale and dreadful. So that is illuminated, lighted up only by these the sulphurous flames, the blue black flames. Thither let us tend from off the tossing of these fiery waves. So he is asking Beelzebub to go to that place, to go to this plain land from fiery these fiery waves of the lake. There rest, if any rest can harbor there. So let us rest there, if it is possible to take rest. So obviously they are tormented by God. So whether it would be possible for them to take any rest and reassembling our afflicted powers. So let us reassemble, rally together, or gather our defeated forces. So obviously afflicted powers means the defeated forces. Consult how we may henceforth most offend our enemy. So we must have a meeting. We must consult. We must uh, decide how we can offend our foe, that is God. Obviously, Satan intends to make plans to again wage war against God, either by force or by guile. That is, he would use force, and if he fails to gain anything by using force, he is going to use his, tricks. So consult how we may henceforth most offend our enemy, our own loss how repair. So how we can repair our own losses. So we are much afflicted. So let us go there and sort of you know think about our situation and how we can best improve our situation. So obviously here the word offend it means to harm or wound, that is, or annoy, displease. It might mean anything. So Satan is obviously planning to annoy or sort of wound or harm God's intentions. How overcome this dire calamity? So how to overcome this uh, dire calamity, this situation that they find themselves in? So it is a calamitous situation. It has befallen them, and obviously they are in a very an afflicted state. What reinforcements we may gain from hope, if not what resolution from despair. So he's saying that we need to reassemble our forces who are lying there in the burning lake in an unconscious state. So we have to reinforce our forces. We have to gain something by hoping to do so. So it's only hope that remains for us. And Satan is, as you can see here, is not at all going to submit to God now that God is triumphing in heaven. And he says that uh, Satan tries to seems to Milton seems to say that Satan tries to gain strength from hope. So Satan speaks most fillingly here, and he is trying to gain what resolution, what state of mind, strong state of mind or determination he has left from this feeling of despair. So he ends his second speech in line number 191. So it starts from 155, most probably 157, and it ends here in 191. So this is the second speech of Satan, and it is addressed to Beelzebub. It is in reply to Beelzebub's speech, and it is a kind of a reproach or rebuke, and he is going to make plans. As you can see, he expresses his intention of doing evil, uh, and converting the good deeds of God into evil deeds. Thus, Satan, talking to his nearest mate, with head up lift above the wave, and eyes that sparkling blazed, his other parts besides prone on the flood. So now we are going to get a description of Satan's, you know, kind of physical description. So Satan talks to his nearest mate obviously Beelzebub, with head uplift above the wave. So his head is only visible. He is still submerged. The other parts of his body, uh, uh, those are submerged in the fiery lake. And eyes were sparkling, blazing with anger and hate. His other parts, besides prone on the flood, that is, they were floating. He was floating on the burning lake. And as you can see, uh, prone on the flood, flood means this, the lake, burning lake, extended, long and large, lay floating many a rood, in bulk as huge. Now here you will find the first epic simile. Now, epic similes are, comparisons that are used by poets in epic poems to describe something grand in a grand way. So, this is the first Miltonic epic simile which Milton uses to describe Satan's huge bulk, the Satan's size. So let us read this. This is a bit complicated because a lot of references are there. In bulk as huge, so you know that similes, when similes are used, these words as, like, these are used. So in bulk as huge, lay floating many a rood. Now rood is a quarter of an acre. So that is the measurement, a quarter of an acre. So here the description is, lay floating many a rood, in bulk as huge as whom the fables name of monstrous size. Fables, so in the Greek or Roman myths. And Milton perhaps is using the stories of the Old Testament as well, not just the Greek and Roman myths. Is referring to the Old Testament stories, referring to the story or the account of the Leviathan, 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 or the huge beast, which he would be talking about in a moment. Titanian or earthborn, that word on Jove. So now Titanian or earthborn. So here there is this reference to, according to the mythology, the Titans were the 12 children of heaven and earth. And Milton often refers to the Greek myths about the wars of the Titans and the giants. The giants were the partly human monsters who had feet like serpents, and they fought against the gods. So Milton perhaps is talking about the Titans, who were the elder race born of Ge, G capital GE, that is earth, and Uranus, heaven. So they ruled over earth and heaven, and they rebelled against Uranus. So earthborn, that is born of Ge, earthborn, Titans, these uh, race of titans. They were born of earth, that word on Jove, that is the king of the gods, Jove or Jupiter, who is known as Zeus in Greek mythology. In Roman mythology, he is called Jove or Jupiter. Now comes another description, Briareus or Typhon. Now, Briareus was a serpent legged titan, while Typhon or Typhus was a serpent headed giant. So, these are mythological creatures, and Milton refers to these mythologies. So, Briareus was a huge monster with 100 hands who assisted Zeus in his war against the Titans. So Briareus helped Zeus in his war against the Titans, and Typhon or Typhus was a 100-headed monster who was trying to seize the control of heaven over gods and men, and he was killed by Zeus with a thunderbolt. He was killed by Jupiter or Jove or Zeus. So these were monsters. Briareus had sided with Zeus or Jupiter, but Typhon had uh, fought against him, whom the den by ancient Tarsus held. Now, ancient Tarsus, this is a city in Asia Minor. In Asia Minor, ancient Tarsus, and this is the ancient city of Cilicia. Cilicia, Cilicia in Asia Minor. And in this place, Typhus or Typhon had his den, or he lived there, by ancient Tarsus held. So, just recap, we just look at this epic simile. A lot of things are being mentioned here. So, Satan is first compared to the Titans, the monstrous sized monsters who were born of the earth and who had fought against Jupiter. And then he refers to Briareus, who was another monster with 100 hands. And he had fought against Typhon and the Titans. He was with Zeus, so he was helping Zeus. But Typhon, the next monster who had 100 heads, he was fighting against Zeus or Jupiter. And this Typhon had his den, or he was living in a place called Tarsus, which was an ancient city in Cilicia in Asia Minor. So I think this is up till now it is clear for you. It's clear how Milton is going about his epic similes. He is trying to, just keep in mind that Milton here is trying to emphasize on the huge stature or the huge body of Satan. He just wants to emphasize on the monstrous size of Satan, and that is why he is bringing in all these the names of all these monsters who were extremely big in size. Now, after these three references, in line number 200, he says, or that sea beast, Leviathan, which God of all his works created hugest, that swim the ocean stream. Now comes the Leviathan. Leviathan, it is a Hebrew word. In the Bible, it either means a great snake or a cave, sorry, or a giant dragon. It either means a big, very big snake or a giant dragon. So, in the book of Isaiah, it is the reference of Leviathan is found in the Old Testament. Uh, so obviously, Leviathan is an enemy of God. And here, obviously, the reference is to this huge sea beast Leviathan, whom God had created, the largest, created hugest that swim the ocean stream. Ocean stream here means, uh, actually, Milton is drawing on the Greek belief that the ocean was a stream which encircled the earth. So, this is the belief that the Greeks had. So, it was swimming there, or rather, it was slumbering. Him happily slumbering on the Norway foam. So, happily slumbering, him happily slumbering. Here, him means obviously the Leviathan. And here you can see that a Leviathan is a term that is applied to the sea monster in the Bible, and whether it is a snake or a whale or a crocodile or a giant, it is uncertain. But perhaps Milton is describing a huge whale, like the blue whale. As you know, it is the largest mammal or creature on earth. So the ocean stream is described by Homer, the writer of the epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey, as a kind of a great river that is flowing around the earth. So the Greeks had this belief, as we see here. So this Leviathan had been swimming in the ocean stream. It was a huge beast, and it was now, when it was sleeping happily, perhaps it was sleeping on the Norway foam. So Norway foam, obviously, in the country of Norway, in the icy waters of Norway. And foam here means, kinds of, brings in a kind of a sinister, mysterious effect. The pilot of some small night-foundered skiff. So, night-foundered skiff. So, the pilot here means a sailor who was riding a small boat. Night-foundered means which had capsized, which had sunk at night, and dimming some island oft as seamen tell, with fixed anchor in his scaly rind, moors by his side under the lee, while night invests the sea and wished morn delays. So here Milton is describing a sailor who was uh, going on his boat in the ocean and which had capsized, and he had thought that this Leviathan was an island. He had mistaken the Leviathan, it was such a huge beast, for some island, and with fixed anchor in his scaly rind. So the surface of this, the skin of this Leviathan is covered by scaly rinds, all scales, and the seaman who had been almost drowned, he puts his anchor, the anchor of his boat, and fastens it to the scales and moors by his side under the lee. So he moors his boat by the side of this uh, Leviathan, mistaking him for an island. Such is the big size. Under the lee, out of the wind, on the leeward side, where the wind is not striking, while night invests the sea, covers. Invests here means covers the sea, and wished morn delays. Wished morn meaning morning seems to be long in coming because the sailor wishes it to come quickly. So here, hopefully, you have understood the epic similes. There are a number of epic similes here. First, he is being compared to, you know, Titans, then Briareus, then Typhon, then the sea beast Leviathan. with fixed anchor in his scaly rind, moors by his side under the lee, while night invests the sea, and wished morn delays. So stretched out, huge in length, the arch-fiend lay, chained on the burning lake. So this is the ultimate point of the comparison. So stretched out, huge in length, the arch-fiend, that is Satan, lay, chained on the burning lake. So Satan was lying like this, these titans, this Briareus, this Tarsus, or this Leviathan. So the point of the comparison is now clear. So Milton is trying to describe to his readers the monstrous size of Satan. So this is the first epic simile, and we have to take note of this because the Miltonic simile, the epic simile, or the long-tailed simile, as it is called, it has been used by Homer in his the two epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey, and by Virgil in the Aeneid, you know. So Milton also, as he is writing an epic in his own language, in his mother tongue, English, so he is employing the device of the epic simile. So this is an English epic, and he is following in the footsteps of the great Greek and Roman epic poets. So let us stop here today, and I will stop sharing the screen with you. Hopefully, you have understood the epic similes. And if you have any question, you might